And finally, we are joined by Chris Jamieson, the CEO of Jade Gas with the ticker code JGH, a company focused on gas exploration in Mongolia. Chris, thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Jane. Good to be here.
I'm actually a shareholder as well, so I'm looking forward to hearing all about the company.
Oh, that's good to hear. So, yeah, thank you. I think firstly, thank you to everyone for listening in today. Really do appreciate it. And the timing couldn't be better. I've just returned from 2 weeks in Mongolia and met with a number of government officials and the regulator over there, as well as going down to our site. I think the key takeaway from the trip was that there is overwhelming support for what we're doing, and we are looking to extract natural gas from coal seams in the South Gobi Desert, about 500-600 kilometres south of Ulaanbaatar, the capital. And Mongolia as a country doesn't have a gas industry at this point in time, and they burn a lot of coal to generate energy and electricity. And if we can actually get to the point of commercialising our coal bed methane play, then it will help create a cleaner energy mix for the country, which is a big positive and something they desperately want, as well as energy independence. So at the moment, Mongolia is heavily reliant on gas and petroleum products from Russia and also China. So the ability to sort of help them become more energy independent would be a massive plus for the country. So corporate summary, I'll just touch on this slide. And the team itself, a very small team. There's only 4 of us here in Adelaide, 3 of us ex-Beach Energy. Mark Pitkin's manager of the technical side. He was involved early days in the Spring Gully permit or project, which is actually feeding a lot of Origin's gas into LNG export. So Mark has good technical knowledge on coal bed methane, which is a real positive. The board itself is a strong board. We've got Joe Burke and Dan Eddington, who both have a good history of corporate success. Joe especially is involved with Mongolia, has some strong connections there. Dennis Morton and Peter Lansom. Peter came on recently. Peter was also involved in Spring Gully at Origin early days, and both Dennis and Peter were part of the Eastern Star gas sale to Santos, which was sold for about $1 billion. So having that experience on the board is really positive. So I guess why Jade? We have 3 very good permits. The first is the main one, our flagship one, is Tavantolgoi. It has a TCF of prospective resource on it, and it is seen by the government as a strategic asset and one of great importance. And the reason for that is that within the permit itself is Mongolia's largest coal mine. And what we're looking at doing, and I'll talk to this in a minute, is we're looking to extract natural gas off the deeper coal seams that run from Tavantolgoi. Now, the permit itself has a TCF of prospective resource on it, and we'll be looking to convert a portion of that to a contingent resource around mid-year. So it's a large amount of gas, and the work that we've done to date is proving that the gas is certainly there. We have a 6-well drilling program at the moment. We are drilling wells, the 2nd and 3rd wells of that program. We've actually reached TD on one of those wells, which is Red Lake 1. Red Lake 2 and Red Lake 4 are both close to TD, and we'll be getting something out to the market soon on those 2 wells. We have also added to our portfolio, so we've got the Tavantolgoi Coal Bed Methane Project is the flagship one, but we picked up 2 large permits which have a great address, the Shivy Gobi permit and the Eastern Gobi permit. I'll talk to them a little bit more in a minute, but they're nice additions. And we are looking, if we're going to create an industry here, then we also need more assets to sort of work on, and those 2 new permits certainly provide that. The market itself for gas and energy, I mean, it's incredibly strong at the moment, pricing strong, demand's high. We've got global issues around Russia and the Ukraine, and all of that is driving a focus towards the requirement of certainly gas to sort of help transition towards a renewable future. And so it's a good space to be in at the moment. As I mentioned before, we've got a good team in place, but we've also got a strong team in Mongolia as well, of well-connected people and well-qualified people. Which is great. And as I mentioned earlier, recently had a lot of meetings with government officials in Mongolia, and they were very positive in terms of what we're doing, and certainly supportive of that. And the people that we have within Mongolia have built very strong bonds with the government. So this is just a map, and it shows where our permits are. So the Tavantolgoi Coal Bed Methane Project is about 650 kilometres south of Ulaanbaatar. The area of the project is 665 square kilometres. We share this with the government. There's a company called Erdenes Methane that has 40%. We have 60%, and the government will only take a portion of a permit if they see it as an asset of national significance. So it does show how important this project is to the government and the country. The South Gobi permit and the Eastern Gobi permit, both large in terms of scale, but as I said, they both sit within existing coal basins. We'll be looking to put prospective resources on both of those blocks over the coming 6 weeks to 2 months. So some news coming on those two permits, but we're quite excited by that. They're both very low expenditure. First year is only $15,000 US on each permit, and there's a 3-year prospecting agreement that sits over those. So it's a light touch in terms of spend, but if we like what we see, we might expedite some drilling in those two permits as well. So this is a good diagram, just a little cross section of what we have down in the South Gobi at Tavantolgoi. You'll see that each of those light grey lines represent coal seams. The shallower seams are dry, and they're also, they don't have any methane in them. So we're chasing methane in the deeper coal seams, which you can see are the darker coloured ones. There's 3 seams of interest. There's seam 4, 3 and 0 are their names. They are water saturated, and when they're water saturated, it means that the gas is trapped on the coal. So we have drilled Red Lake 1, which is the well off to the right there, which was one of the deeper coal bed methane wells drilled in Mongolia to date, over 1,000 metres. And we extensively cored it. When we extracted the core, we saw we had about 145 metres of total coal, but the coals that we were interested in those darker colours, we had 58 metres, and they were gas bearing. So when the coal actually came out, you could hold that core itself, look at it, and you could see the gas bubbling off it. So we know that we have gas that is trapped on the coal, which is really important. We've done some work on the composition of that gas, and we'll be getting something out to the market soon on that. And we also have information on the content of gas within those coals. And again, we'll get something out to the market soon. So the 2 key criteria that we're still to satisfy is permeability of the coals. So the ability of the gas to actually flow through the coal and up the wellbore. And so to that end, we've introduced new technology into Mongolia. One of the tools that we've brought in is called a drill stem testing tool. And that tool goes down the wellbore after the well is drilled and takes samples of the water and gas within the coal, and allows us to understand or better understand the permeability potential of the coal. So we're running a DST in Red Lake 2 at the moment, and we'll hopefully have information around the results from those drill stem tests over the coming weeks. So we're gathering a lot of information. We know there's a lot of gas there. Mongolia doesn't have a gas industry, so everything's lining up very well at the moment. So it's a pretty exciting time. So this is just our path to production. How do we get there? So at the moment, we are in the drilling phase, the data analysis phase, having a look at the quality of the coals and their ability to produce. The second half of this year, we'll be doing an extended production test on Red Lake 5, which is a well yet to be drilled, but will be drilled over the coming month. And that will flow, we'll put a pump in that and it'll flow water predominantly and possibly a little bit of gas over 3 months to 6 months. And we'll put as I said earlier, a contingent resource certification on the area that we're currently drilling. We then move into a pilot production phase next year is the plan. And after that, we'll be able to book a reserve for the area that we're producing from with that pilot production. And then we move into a definitive feasibility study phase and front-end engineering design, where we'll actually look to grow the area that we're looking to produce from, and then go to FID, where we'll line up gas contracts ideally and start commercial production, and that is expected around 2025. So just in terms of gas contracts and the market itself, as I said, there's no natural gas production in Mongolia. One of our largest shareholders is the largest gas distributor in Mongolia. They import LNG from Russia. So they have taken a large stake in us. And one of the reasons is they see the quality of our assets, but they also have the ability to take that gas as a potential option for us should we get to commercial production. So everything's lined up very well. The assets look great. We've got wonderful support from the government and quite a bit of news flow to come over the next sort of coming weeks and months. So with that, I'll hand back to you, Jane, and see if there are any questions.
Thank you for that, Chris. It's a great presentation. We've had quite a few questions come through, so I will jump into them. And you have answered a few of them, but just in case anyone missed out.
Okay.
So are you looking to expand on the tenement package?
So I think with the additions of the South Gobi and the Eastern Gobi permits, I mean, they're approximately 18,000 square kilometres. So there's a lot of work to be done on those two. So at the moment, from a gas perspective, I think we certainly have enough to keep us occupied. And we also, the Tavantolgoi permit itself, there's still further work, and we'll look to put some exploration wells further out over the coming year for the year 2 program. So I think we're comfortable with where we are, and we'll certainly do further desktop work and potential drilling on those 2 new permits soon.
Thank you. Any questions just popped up on Zoom. So how will you get the gas to market?
Well, as I said, we've got our largest shareholder is UB Methane. They dropped the H. So, and we met with them while I was up in Mongolia recently, and they have the ability and the network. So they import LNG by train from Russia at the moment. And what they do is they regas it, and actually a lot of it goes into the new buses that are coming in Ulaanbaatar. So they fill those buses with compressed natural gas and they run off that. So they're looking to expand so for example, right next to where our permit is, we've got the Tavantolgoi coal mine, and there's a lot of generators and trucks that run off diesel. So the idea from UB Methane's perspective is to convert those over to LNG trucks and actually have gas-fired generators there. So that potentially is a huge market. And there's also Oyu-Tolgoi, which is Rio Tinto's mine. It's about 80 kilometres away. So UB Methane will take any gas that we can produce, and we'd certainly, if we did an agreement with them, it would certainly be at arm's length commercial terms. I think as a first port of call, they're a pretty solid one.
Thank you. And you mentioned you've got 2 holes pending. So when can the market expect those to be announced?
Yeah, so I think early next week, we should be able to get some information out about gas composition and gas content. And then in terms of saturation of the coals and permeability, sort of 2 to 3 weeks, I think. So certainly there'll be a bit of news flow next week.
And so what are the coal seams like in Mongolia versus Queensland?
Yeah, well, it's interesting. I mean, all coals are different. And what we're seeing is the coals are much thicker. So in Queensland, coals will be around about 5 metres thick, would be a good coal seam, which you could drill horizontally into. Our coals, so we've got about 58 metres. So we've got a lot more coal. What we need to understand is how aerially extensive that coal is. So in Queensland, it covers a really large area. And for us, our permit's 665 square kilometres, so we will be exploring and seeing whether that coal extends out over the whole permit. So in terms of the coals themselves, they're thicker. In terms of permeability, we're still yet to understand that. Gas content-wise and composition-wise, you'll find out next week.
Perfect. And just finally, so what are you most excited about for Jade?
Well, I think it's the opportunity to build the gas industry in Mongolia. And Mongolia is at the mercy of Russia and China. It's a country which is landlocked right between the two. It has about 3.5 million people in it. It's the 8th largest country by landmass, and half of that population is in the capital, Ulaanbaatar. And so there's a lot of, there's 3 Soviet-era power stations that run off brown coal. So the city itself during winter is the most polluted city in the world. So if we can build a gas industry and help the country itself move away from sort of the dirtier brown coals into sort of the cleaner natural gas, I think that would be something that, personally I'd love to see happen, because you're sort of affecting the lives of people in another country, which is a positive thing. So I'm really excited about that. I'm excited by the fact that the cost to drill wells is less, and the gas price is much higher over there. So I think there's a lot more potential margin to be made as well with the programs that we have, and also just helping to educate a lot of the locals over there. So what we're doing is we're on a path to making sure that they're being educated in how coal bed methane works, and so helping. If we're going to build an industry, we need to do it with more than just Australian capability, and we're looking to build that Mongolian capability as well.
Well, Chris, that was a great presentation, and thank you for joining us on Broker Briefing.
Thanks, Jane. Appreciate it.